As they say, the best in Ohio stay in Ohio, which is why it's important for the Glenville pipeline to remain open.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Buckeyes fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Buckeyes for the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. It is Tuesday, June 27th in the year 2023, and this episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/Locked On today to get started. During today's episode, we will go over expectations for incoming freshman quarterback Mr. Lincoln Kienholz and peer recruiting one of the best linebackers in the class of 2024. But first, think back to the past 20 years, 20 plus years or so, and think about all of the great players that have come out of the state of Ohio. And then think about some of the guys, or a guy that won the Heisman, or a guy who was really good at corner in Ohio that also came from Glenville High School. Glenville High School in Ohio has consistently produced elite football talent, and it's important that that pipeline remains open. The Buckeyes currently have 3 verbal commitments from football players from Glenville High School: Arvell Reese, Bryce West, and Damarion Witten. A linebacker in Reese, a corner in West, and a tight end in Witten. You're getting guys on offense, getting guys on defense, but most importantly, this is important and has been important to Buckeye success over the past 20 years. Tressel became the head coach in the early 2000s. He made a promise to beat the Wolverines. He made that promise, and the place went wild there in St. John's Arena. But also, he knew he had to go out and get somebody elite. He had to go out there and get a really good quarterback. And why not go out there and get somebody who's really good, who's in that state at that point in time? And it comes Troy Smith. Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer comes in and under probation in 2012. What does Urban Meyer end up doing? Bringing in a really talented quarterback in Cardell Jones, who not only comes in relief duty after JT Barrett goes down against the Wolverines, but also comes in, beats Wisconsin 59-0, Big Ten championship, beats Alabama in the semifinal, beats Oregon 2 in the Natty, a Glenville product. But both of those guys come in after the Buckeyes have lost to the Wolverines. No, I'm not going to sit here and say that these guys are going to be pivotal to things being different under Ryan Day, which is beating the Wolverines consistently, making to the playoffs consistently, which Ryan Day has done a good job of, but also winning a Natty. I'm not going to go that far, but what I will say is this. It seems like there's an importance to recruiting that school, that pipeline alone. And in a tweet that came out from Hayes Fossa, who works for On3, and he broke the news that Bryce West ended up making a verbal commitment to Ohio State. It was clear, 1, Bryce West chose Ohio State over Michigan. That's one thing. 2, Bryce West is an in-state product. But 3, this quote was on that tweet as well. Quote, as they say, the best players in Ohio stay in Ohio. And Ryan Day, Mark Pantoni, and the other members of Ohio State coaching staff, they have put an emphasis on recruiting the state, not just the city or the area of Columbus, recruiting the state of Ohio, because there's a track record of really good football players coming from the state. You got Garrett Stover. You got some other guys that are going to be coming into Ohio State in the next couple of years, in-state products that have said, hey, Ohio players, we're going to be in Ohio. The Armstrong twins, I love following them on Twitter. Why? 1, because they're entertaining, but 2, they're all in on recruiting the state of Ohio and recruiting the best players to play football at the Ohio State University. And ultimately, I think you can recruit Ohio. Now, you need to go outside of the state and the borders to recruit. You can't just get all of your guys, all 100-plus guys, or all 85 scholarship guys from Ohio. If you do that, you're not going to win the national championship. You're not going to win the Big Ten. Because as good as the talent is in the state of Ohio, you need players from Florida, South Florida to be exact. You need players from Texas and California and Oregon and Washington and from Maryland and from New York City and from Jersey and from any state in the country. Why? If there's somebody that's a really good talent quarterback, or even Idaho, if you need a really good quarterback and name the state, and he's one of the best in the country and he fits the offense at Ohio State, go get him. Don't sit here and just say, oh, he's not an Ohio kid, we're not going to get him. No, I will never sit here on this podcast and say only Ohio kids go to Ohio State, need to be recruited by Ohio State. One, that's not who I am. But two, I don't think there's a lot of intelligence in that statement, because we have seen a lot of the best players that have played at Ohio State, they have been recruited from states that aren't Ohio. Like, it's just the facts, which is why I like that there has been an emphasis on the state of Ohio, but also opening up the Glenville pipeline. Some other names that have come from Glenville High School that are players that you'll remember playing at the Ohio State, which has been coached by longtime head coach Ted Ginn Sr., still there. Also, his son, Ted Ginn Jr., at Ohio State from 2003 to 2006, an All-American in 2006, caught 135 passes for over 1,900 yards and set multiple punt return records during his career at Ohio State, a Glenville product. Ray Small actually played football with Ray Small's cousin, is a product of Glenville High School. Jonathan Newsom ended up transferring to Ball State, but also a product of Glenville High School. Some more recent names: Cardell Jones, Chris Worley, a former captain in 2017, Marshawn Lattimore, and then recently a 2023 signee in Arvell Reese, a 2024 commitment in Bryce West and Damarion Witten. I'm telling you, the Buckeyes need to keep this pipeline open. It's important to recruiting. And I think it speaks volumes, not just to Ted Ginn Sr., but to other coaches around the state. When they know, they may be an incoming coach, and they say, hey, I know, I've heard Glenville High School and the products they produce and how good they are. Why are their guys not going to Ohio State? What has changed? Where are they going? Are they producing the same type of talent? Well, if they are, why is Ohio State not on their list? Or if it is, why is Ohio State not getting the final signing of these players? This could be a changing. And I think it's great for those players in Ohio. 4-star, 5-star, 3-star, don't matter. If you're talented, if you're immensely talented, and Ohio State wants you, and you're in that state, Ohio State needs an OV or an official visit. And Ohio State should be in the final running for you to go to Ohio State and to make your verbal commitment to that school. Why? Because as they say, the best players in Ohio stay in Ohio. Coming up next, we will go over some realistic expectations of Lincoln Kienholz. He's a summer enrollee, did not enroll in school in January, came to school in June. Did expectations drop because his arrival was later in the year? We'll discuss that next here on Locked On Buckeyes. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Baseball season is in full swing, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to join today. So don't miss your chance to snag a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission. Thanks for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen every single day. Now is the perfect time to subscribe to Locked On Buckeyes on Apple or Spotify or the Amazon Music app or even the Odyssey app. or YouTube, wherever you get your fine podcast. Locked On Buckeyes can be found there. Subscribe, leave a 5-star rating on Apple and Spotify. If you're on the YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button and hit that bell so you're notified every time a new video goes live. Locked On Buckeyes is a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. It's important that when a player comes into school, that the coaches have a plan for them. No matter if they are an early enrollee in January or a summer enrollee in June, you need a plan for the individual once he arrives on campus. And Lincoln Kienholz fits this mold. There needs to be a plan for the youngster. There needs to be a plan for the quarterback who is an incoming freshman, who is talented, who is a dual threat, who is a multi-sport athlete in high school, who was an all-state athlete in multiple sports. You need to have a plan for him. Because if you don't have a plan for him, he may come in, do his own thing, and ultimately things might not go the way you want them to go. So you must have a plan. When it comes to Lincoln Kienholz specifically, he is going to have the privilege of working with Ryan Day. I was trying to think of a different word, but privilege fit the mold for this conversation. It's a privilege to have Ryan Day as your head coach. One of the best offensive minds in the country, one of the best quarterback coaches in the country, but also you have a couple other guys at your disposal as resources. Corey Dennis, the QB coach, who's working with Kienholz every single day, who's in the mind of Ryan Day, who's in the room with Day, making a plan for Kienholz once he has arrived on campus. But also, you also have Brian Hartline, who comes with NFL experience. He was an NFL receiver, but he also played with NFL quarterbacks, and he could tell them, hey, man, I know I wasn't one at the highest level, but I understand this is your aspirations and your dreams. How about we work together to formulate a plan for you to be successful in college, but also successful and potentially play at the next level as well? Isn't that why you come to Ohio State? Isn't that why you want to be a quarterback for Ryan Day and to be a Buckeye? Because you know you want to have a chance to play quarterback at the next level, and because you know that being the QB1 at Ohio State, it doesn't get much better than that. Now, granted, I understand Braxton Miller, J.T. Barrett, Terrell Pryor, Troy Smith. I understand the lineage and the history of Ohio State quarterbacks, and many of them have not had success at the next level. That does not mean that over the next few years, Justin Fields, C.J. Stroud, potentially maybe Kyle McCord at the end of the season gets drafted in 2024, or Devin Brown's QB1, Devin Brown in a couple years getting drafted to the National Football League. That does not mean things cannot change over the next few years as far as what the narrative is about Buckeye quarterbacks in the National Football League. It all starts now for Lincoln Kienholz. Everything has to start now. You start now with your weight training and your nutrition and doing the things that the coaches need you to do, ask you to do, put on the right healthy way, simply being on time. Now, you may say that might not be an issue for Lincoln Kienholz. I don't know if it is or not, but simply being on time definitely helps you be better prepared for the National Football League. But also, some might say him coming in the summer is a con, a negative for him as far as him joining the Buckeye program. One, he's not the only player to be a summer enrollee at Ohio State. So I could see if he was coming by himself, that might be a con, even though I don't think it is. It might be in some people's eyes. To me, it's not. But two, I put an emphasis and think it's great that he stayed in school. You see, a lot of guys that are multi-sport athletes say, oh, no, I play football, baseball, but my baseball career ended abruptly. I want to skip a season. Why? Because football is my focus, and I can graduate early from high school. I'm going to go to college early and join the football program. That's their decision. Ultimately, I'm a person. I've said this once. I'll say it again. I'll say it over the next few months and years. As long as I'm here on the podcast, I will make the statement that I am always going to be a person that believes, for the most part, you should stay in school. Talked about it last week. The young man was named Anthony Simmons, ended up reclassifying for the class of 2025 till 2023. Decommitted from Florida, ended up committing to Ole Miss. You're jumping 2 classes? No, sir. Not at all. I would not suggest somebody make that decision. Talked about with Dylan Raiola. There are some decisions I will say, yeah, go ahead and do that. Some don't. Dylan Raiola about to play for and be committed to his 4th high school, going down to Beaufort, Georgia, questioning some things. Now, that's not something I would advise somebody to do. When it comes to Lincoln Kienholz, there are other guys that are debating, should I stay in school, stay in high school, finish out my senior year, play the sports that I was a part of, or go to college early? I am saying stay in school. Why? Because in the mind and the career of Lincoln Kienholz, finished out his high school basketball career, had fun doing it, but also with Kienholz, played baseball during the spring and won a state championship. That's an opportunity and an accomplishment that he would not have had if he did not stay in school. If he would have been a summer enrollee, yes, great. Would have had more time on campus, may have got some play during the spring game. Maybe, we don't know. But ultimately, I'm going to tell you, and I'll say it again, I'll say it over and over, I am always going to encourage people to stay in school. You only get a senior year of high school once. Only one of those comes around. The memories you're going to make between January and May of that year, hey, maybe senior prom, you may go to prom, you may not go to prom. These are memories and friendships. So a lot of them will not last a lifetime. Enjoy them while they're there. Now, I understand the early enrollee thing, and I get it, but I don't view Lincoln Kienholz being a summer enrollee as a negative, more of a pro, a commitment to his craft, a commitment to his teammates, commitment to do something special during the baseball season, which they accomplished that goal. I view it as a pro, not a con. But some more pros are, he's fresh, he's young, and ultimately he is going to have a couple months before fall camp, training camp starts. So he's going to have a couple months to get acclimated to the Buckeye program, get acclimated to Ryan Day, get acclimated to Corey Dennis, figure the whole Brian Hartline offense out as the other guys on the offense are figuring out Brian Hartline, offensive coordinator at Ohio State. Everybody's figuring that thing out. There are pros, there are cons. One pro that I also see is that Corey Dennis is not going to lower the expectations for Kienholz, even though he's a later enrollee than other Buckeyes that are currently freshmen. I like that. We talk about all the time. The standard is a standard and it doesn't need to change. Then why in the world will some people think, or why people might think, hey, he's arriving a few months late, about 6 months later than everybody else. How about we go ahead and lower the expectations? Now, you do have to kind of tailor things for when you arrive on campus. That's true. But ultimately, you don't got to lower the expectation. Keep the standard where the standard is, but also formulate a plan, a well-thought-out plan, a plan that you plan on executing to a T, so that when it comes down to Kienholz getting acclimated to the Buckeye program, Kienholz being a good quarterback, a good incoming freshman quarterback during training camp, Kienholz doing all the things right and being coachable, you can set the groundwork, the framework for that right now, so that in the fall when the pads come on, he is more acclimated and better suited to handle Ohio State fall camp as a later enrollee in the Buckeye offseason. Coming up next, there has been a report of peer recruiting, Buckeye commit recruiting a linebacker the Buckeyes are seeking a verbal commitment from. Who are the players involved? Why is this important? I'll tell you next here on Locked On Buckeyes. This episode is brought to you by Billiards Plus. Billiards Plus has the best selection of pool tables, game tables, shuffleboard tables, and more. And the best service in Central Ohio. Billiards Plus also can set you up with a brand new top-of-the-line grill that will last for generations. We all know how hard it is with the supply chain issues this year and getting certain things shipped on time. So when it comes to ordering that one big gift for someone you love, check out Billiards Plus. They have exactly what you have been looking for. Billiards Plus carries the best pool tables from Brunswick, Ahausen, Canada, Billiards, and more. Plus, top-of-the-line grills from PK, Napoleon, Memphis, and the Griddle. That will be the last grill you own. Seriously, these grills stand the test of time. No matter the season, Billiards Plus has you covered for all your indoor and outdoor entertainment needs. Visit their showroom on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin. Check them out at billiards-plus.com. Billiards Plus, family owned and operated for generations. As many of you have seen, different backgrounds over the past few months, really over the past year. That's all come to a change very soon. I am moving, getting married this weekend, moving literally tomorrow. So this week's shows and beginning of next week, there will be shows for you. 4 shows this week, Monday through Thursday. Monday, taking the holiday off, and then coming back with next Wednesday, July the 5th. There will all be shows, but some of them will be pre-recorded. Bear with me. This is a big time in my life. But don't worry. Locked on Buckeyes is not going anywhere. There will just be some shows coming at you that have been pre-recorded before a big event happens in my life. Think about how you would be and how you would feel if you are one of the top recruits in the country and you are on an official visit. There's a guy there that's also on an official visit with you. And there's a commitment, a guy that's in state, that's a verbal commitment that's coming down to hang out with you. Now, you are someone that recently committed to Ohio State from out of state. So you're trying to get acclimated to Ohio State, the state of Ohio, and other things like that. The other verbal commit player that is there is an in-state product at your position. So you guys are spending time together. You get to play and spend some time with some Buckeye players that play your position or ultimately play the same side of the ball as you. So you're getting to figure out, hey, you might not play my spot linebacker, but you play D-line. What's it like? What's Larry Johnson like? What is it like being under Jim Knowles? And getting all of those things figured out. At the same time, while you're on your official visit, you're trying to recruit somebody. One of the top linebackers in the country. Sounds like an interesting way to recruit. Sounds like a good tactic if I am a current commit at Ohio State to recruit somebody that you would love to play alongside of when you're playing in Columbus. The players that are involved is Payton Pierce, a linebacker commit from the state of Texas, Garrett Stover, a linebacker commit from the state of Ohio, and then Kyngston Viliamu-Asa. Viliamu-Asa. I've been trying that for a while and it stuttered a little bit on the show, but Viliamu-Asa is the current player that Payton Pierce was trying to peer recruit. Viliamu-Asa, 6'3", 230-pound linebacker out of St. John Bosco in California. The number 7 linebacker in this class of 2024. The 14th best ranked recruit out of the state of California. St. John Bosco consistently puts out elite talent. Consistent. St. John Bosco, if you look back through the years, you say, oh, they're elite, they're elite, they're elite. They're elite. I mean, you can just go up and down the board and see elite player here, elite player there. But I do like how Payton Pierce has said, hey, man, I know I'm here on my OV, but I'm going to try to help and recruit another player that Ohio State would love to have on their board. This is what it's about, man. I mentioned the Armstrong twins earlier in the show, and part of the reason why they're such fun follows on Twitter, for me at least, is because they engage. One, they're battling Michigan offensive line recruits. Hey, man, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. This rivalry needs to be the fiercest in the country, the best in the country. And you know what? You can start being a fierce rival of that school while you're a commit. And why don't you just go ahead and talk trash to a guy who you're going to be seeing on the field whenever you're on the field as a Buckeye? I'm here for it. I love this stuff. But also, the Armstrong twins realize they can help recruit numerous people where they currently are, even though they are in high school. Same thing for Payton Pierce. Payton Pierce is one of those guys who go back in the archives on the playlist on YouTube. There is a recruiting update playlist. And you can go back to the one when Payton Pierce committed. It will probably say recruiting update. It'll look like a guy is wearing an Ohio State jersey because he is. Well, not really. He's wearing his high school jersey, which looks just like a Buckeye jersey. You can hear all about Payton Pierce, the talented linebacker that he is, and why it's important that Ohio State got a verbal commitment from this young man. It would also be a big deal if they also got a verbal commitment from Kyngston Viliamu-Asa. Hopefully, I can get that down and say it consistently. This young man recently took official visits to Notre Dame this month and USC this month. So what are you saying? Who are the Buckeyes battling with? Also, Alabama's in there as well, but USC is right there. It's right there. And Lincoln Riley realizes, I don't need to let this guy get out of the state. He needs to stay in the state. The USC is one of those schools that you shouldn't have to get on an airplane to recruit. Why? There's so much talent there in Southern California. But also, Notre Dame recruits nationally like Ohio State. But a lot of Notre Dame alumni are in Cali, and Notre Dame has a rivalry with USC, which helps them recruit guys over there in California in that portion of the country. So you're going to be battling with Notre Dame. Alabama's expected, but Ohio State's right there. With the way Tommy Eichenberg and Still Chambers played a year ago, Tommy Eichenberg being one of the better LBs in the country, Still Chambers, to me, is going to be one of the better linebackers in the country this year as well. This is a great time for them to also recruit and help recruit the guys. But Payton Pierce can be in this thing as well. I mean, Ohio State runs 2 linebackers. Viliamu-Asa is one of those guys that's probably going to be an inside backer, not an outside backer, but his versatility, if Payton Pierce is one coming in who's going to be an inside backer, which I think is where Payton Pierce is best suited, Viliamu-Asa and Payton Pierce lined up together. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. It's going to be lights out for some defense if these two guys play football together in Columbus in the future. I love peer recruiting. I love high school recruits and commits trying to recruit other guys, elite talent, to come play with them, but also come play in Columbus. Building something special. They're building something special in Columbus, and I hope Viliamu-Asa is one of those guys that says, hey, I know I'm in Southern California. Over there in Columbus, Ohio, something special is being cultivated in the lab, and I want to be a part of that. And I hope when he realizes that, if he does, a verbal commitment comes shortly after that realization. Guys, we're out of here on a Tuesday. 2 more days left in the week. Big week coming. We got some more big shows coming your way right here on Locked On Buckeyes. My guy, Ryan Roberts, will be back with us, planning to record a show. Julian Fleming and Cave Stover are the next subjects and players, discussing what kind of NFL pro prospects they are and what they can do in the upcoming season to raise their draft stock. You can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. You can send all of your emails to jstevens317@gmail.com. This has been Locked On Buckeyes here on a Tuesday. I'll see you next time.